beginning of a 3-day tour of duty before I ever got home.
What I'd like to do right now is just gathered a lot of notes. You said you went to the movie at the Tivoli Theater. I've done a little bit of research here, and I understand the Tivoli Theater was playing that Walt Disney film Old Yeller. Was that what you saw there? Or am I baffling you? Well, could be. Well, you know, I did a little research on just what was going on in the city on that day at Saturday's News Dispatch before the storm hit, and you know, all the top car dealers, the Pontiac, Cadillac, and Lincoln dealers all had their big ads about the new cars, and movies were playing. The Tivoli had the Old Yeller movie, and then they had a pie eating contest in the afternoon for kids, the Abbott Costello film, Jack and the Beanstalk. And Montgomery Wards, you'll probably get a kick out of this, they were offering sales of rotary tillers and lawnmowers, and then they had patio furniture, and they were offering sales on that, and it just... Then the weather forecast was occasional flurries for that weekend. Heavier snow later in the week. But my question, Elwin, to you, you know, the News Dispatch was successful in getting editions out every day that week. How did you get to the News Dispatch offices that Monday?
Well, that Monday morning, as I said, I had dug out my driveway on Sunday and just waiting for a plow. So when the plow came through at 4:30 on Monday morning, why, I went out and took care of the bit that he had plowed into the driveway again and was able to drive to the office that day. Now, we got most of our people in, as I recall, and we did publish every day that week. And in much of Michigan City, why, we got the papers to the homes one way or another. But we, as far as the county was concerned, our motor route drivers, we had to stack each day's papers at the paper in our circulation area. And they did not get out to the people until about Friday, as I recall. So the motor route drivers then took the whole week's papers out on Friday.
I see.
Because you just couldn't move
so
out.
So no papers were delivered that Monday, but they were printed out.
Well, they were delivered in Michigan City, but not out in the county.
I'm sorry. Okay.
I've got to ask Elle a question.
Sure.
You know, having just finished 8 years in the mayor's office, knowing that every winter, that every time a snowplow goes by, after someone has dug out their driveway, and a snowplow goes by and plugs it back up, what were your immediate reactions to having dug out 4 foot of snow, and the snowplow comes by and shovels it all back in there?
No, I didn't shovel all of it back in, but I was so happy to see that snowplow that morning that it didn't bother me. I just went right out there, I got what was left out of the way, and drove out of that driveway. The happiest person in Michigan City, I'll bet you, that morning.
While you gentlemen are here, I just want to read over some things and some of the research. Some of the things that happened is 7 telephone operators were rushed in from South Bend on that Sunday because there were 6,000 outgoing calls, long-distance calls made that day. And I wonder how they got them in, just a plow or something? Or just
that was the only means of communication you had that day.
And there was no bus service for a few days. The cab shut down at 10:30 Saturday night, even though the calls came in. I don't think they ran until like Wednesday. There's tons of information you can get on this. I'm just trying to, you know, boots, earmuffs, and warm clothing were the big sellers at the stores. And you know, the South Shore train station, they were the only ones that didn't seem to have any real problems because they had trains moving that night, and they had their plows out plowing the streets and so forth. And I guess they had pretty much success in getting everything going. I'd like to comment or ask you about, I understand we made the front cover of the Chicago newspapers for several days, the Chicago Tribune, and there were 2 reporters from Life magazine here, I understand, that took photographs and so forth. They didn't use them for the paper, but they went ahead with them. Your comments about the outside world that came around here.
Well, it was humorous, if you could take it that way at the time, because 10 miles west of Michigan City, there wasn't a flake. 10 miles east of Michigan City, there was very little snow. And when you would call somebody out of town, like, for example, to try to pass the news along to them, they say, "What did you say? There's no snow here.
Yeah.
There's no snow here. What are you trying to tell me?" You know? And first you had to convince the people that we really had a bad time in Michigan City.
Yeah.
And it was that way all the way down the line. As a matter of fact, the mayor had to convince the
I think there's, talking about the mayor, there's a man, Francis Fetter, who done a yeoman's job during that
really
storm.
did.
He was able to put together things that perhaps we thought never would be able to be accomplished.
Yeah, that's right.
That of getting all of those snow blowers in here from Chicago, Gary, East Chicago, Hammond.
One
It
from
was just
Fort Wayne, as far
just
as
a show of cooperation
Indiana,
between the communities was, and Francis Fetter should always be remembered for the yeoman job that
he
he
did a tremendous job that day.
You two gentlemen, I'd just like to check with you. Anything else about the storm, Ed? Anything you want to comment? How did you bide your time each day?
Well, I had a liquor store downtown, right across from the old Ido Theater, see, and I
There
had
were some people mad they couldn't get it.
and then like Monday, like Al got away Monday, we just I took pictures coming down on a Monday. I've got some pictures here someplace, and we took a lot of pictures, but I got down to the liquor store and cleaned around, and that's when Tom Lernahan and Mike Lernahan were out there working, and it was really something to see Franklin Street with all that snow. It was really something. But we got around it, and about a week later we got rid of all the snow.
There were two very unusual things that happened during this period of time. And you wonder if it was just planned this way by someone up above or what.
Yeah.
But there was not a serious illness in town which would demand an ambulance for several days. The only one that I can remember is one that you mentioned before.
I mentioned, yeah,
a woman was on the verge of having a baby, and they had to send a ladder truck out to try to get through the drifts and all to get this woman into a hospital.
In fact, if I may just interrupt, I can mention her name for the audiences, because I know they'll be watching that. At the time, it was Mrs. Patty Saturday, and they were living on Gardena Street, and then I'll let you continue.
They sent the ladder truck out because it was the biggest piece of equipment they had, and they finally got close enough to get the woman on the ladder truck and head back to the hospital. The other miracle, if you want to call it, was for 4 or 5 days there was not a fire in Michigan City. And in view of the fact that all of these houses were snowed in and cold and snow and all, and very often you got a fire going, But there was not a major fire in Michigan City, because it would have been major if there had been.
I do know that, unfortunately, there were several deaths in the area. Several people, heart attacks. Somebody on Paz Road froze to death in her car. That was unfortunate. There were several deaths in the area, but I guess it was just, I heard the flakes were really big.
They were big.
Big flakes.
I think when you talk about that, if I remember correctly, we were, I don't remember the detail, but police officer Bill O'Shea had a heart attack or something during trying to get some cars out or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe I did some research on that. He passed out at the station and woke up several days later at Memorial Hospital. He thankfully just lived through that and is still alive today. And
celebrated his 50th wedding anniversary last Saturday.
Yeah.
Good for him. But,
Well, they set up their command post, if you want to call it that, at the 4th Street Fire Station.
Central?
Yes. And that is where everybody kind of gravitated to, and they got a plan going there. They sat down and decided we'll start with the downtown section and get that plowed out, and then go to the major
streets,
thoroughfares, and then to the neighborhoods. And they followed this plan, and it worked very well.
And by the time I guess the emergency supposedly was called off by that Saturday or that Friday.
By the following Saturday. And that's what this newspaper says right here.
Go ahead and hold her up there.
It says, area and city returned to normal.
Hold that up just a bit more.
And this was the following Saturday, 1 week from when the snow fell, before the emergency was called off.
Right.